All right, lesson 7. We're going to talk about inequalities. So we can solve and graph inequalities. So again, think about the word inequality, not equal, okay? So these things are not equal. So again, if you think about an equal sign, if you see a line through it, it means does not equal. And these are the symbols that we're going to use, okay, to describe our inequalities. You'll notice that your solution of an inequality is going to be a range of numbers. And we may even use like a graph or a number line to show it. So we're going to show those on a number line. Now, the symbols, okay? You've probably seen these before. This, if it opens to the left, is the greater than symbol. And again, the way I know a lot of people like to remember these is like you've got teeth inside of here if it's an alligator, and it's going to open up to the bigger number, okay? So this is our bigger number. It's eating the bigger number, and then the smaller number is on the outside. Now let's say it opens the other way. So again, one way you can look at it is through teeth with an alligator. The other way you can think about it is that it's a Pac-Man. And again, it's going to eat the big number. Om nom 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 nom. And then the little number or the smaller number is going to be on the outside. So this is the greater than symbol. Okay. And again, when we graph it, we use an open circle. We also have the less than symbol. And when we graph that as well, we are going to use an open circle. And then you'll notice these next two have lines underneath them. So this means greater than or equal to. And we're going to show that with a closed circle. And then our last example is, again, it's got that line underneath, which means less than or equal to. So anytime it's got that line underneath, we're going to use a closed circle. So let's do some examples here. I'm going to draw a number line. Looks like we're going to start at 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7. So first one I'm going to do is letter A. I'm going to use red, okay, for A. And it says y is less than 3. Again, the teeth or the Pac-Man sign is opening towards the 3. So if I look and I say, okay, less than symbol, open circle, and it's got to go less than 3. So I always like to look at where 0 is and say, hey, is 0 less than 3? Yes, it is. So I'm going to open and create an arrow that is to the left. So again, all the numbers that are less than 3 could be the answer. 0 could be the answer. -4 could be the answer. 2.75 could be the answer. -9,852 could be the answer. All of those answers can work. So again, that's why we have to use a number line, because there's no way we could actually write down all the answers. We're going to use green for B. And this says x is greater than -1. So I find -1, again, because it's just greater than, it's not equal to, I'm going to use an open circle. But x is getting eaten, okay? It's got the teeth. It's opening towards x, which means all the numbers bigger than -1 can be my answer. So 0 could be my answer. 0 is bigger or greater than -1. 5 is greater than -1. So all those answers bigger than -1 would work. C, again, notice on this one, we've got that line underneath, okay? So let's pick maybe purple for C, purple for C. This says A is less than or equal to -2. So because it's got that or equal to, I need to use a closed circle, and A is less than, it's smaller. So I think, is 0 smaller than -2? No, it's not. So I can't point my arrow towards 0. I got to point my answer more negative. I got to go -3, -5, -100. All of those answers are going to be less than or equal to -2. And then my very last one is G. We're going to use blue. Okay, G. -6 is less than or equal to G. So again, G is the inequality symbol is opening towards G. It's eating G, which means that G is greater than -6. So again, I'm going to open to the right and draw my arrow that way. Closed circle. Anytime you've got this or equal to, you use a closed circle. Anytime you just have a normal inequality, you use an open circle. So again, we graphed them all on the same number line. You could have graphed them on different number lines. It's totally okay. All right. Again, I just wanted you to show we did 2 examples of open circles and 2 examples of closed circles and how we would graph those. So it works the other way. Again, I can figure out what my inequality is by looking at the graph or the number line. So let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it looks like I have an open circle at 2. So that means less than or greater than. And then it's at the number 2. So my arrow is pointing to the right. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those numbers are getting bigger. So I'm going to say X is greater than 2. All the numbers that are greater than 2 would work. I can write this 2 different ways, or I could say that 2 is less than X. Again, I'm saying the same exact thing. X is greater than 2, or 2 is less than X. Either way, these are the 2 answers that would work. Again, X is getting eaten. If you think about it as alligator teeth, it's opening because X is bigger. So X is getting eaten by those alligators. Part B, question B, it says 0. Again, -1, -2, -3, -4. These numbers are getting smaller, but I have a closed circle. So I could say that X is less than or equal to, gotta have this line down here because it's a closed circle, 0. Or I could say, so this is saying X is less than or equal to 0. Or I could say 0 is greater than or equal to X. Again, I'm saying the same thing. There's 2 ways to write it, 2 ways to talk about it. X is less than or equal to 0, or 0 is greater than or equal to X. So let's kind of, again, look at a real world problem here. Food can be labeled with low sodium only if it meets the requirements set by the government. Use the table to write an inequality for this requirement. So it is sodium free if it's less than 5 milligrams. It is very low sodium if at most it's got 35 milligrams, and it is low sodium if at most it has 140. So let's start writing these. So less than 5 milligrams. So I'm going to say sodium free if let's just keep it as X is less than 5 milligrams. It's very low sodium if And again, it's going to be at most 35. It can be 35. So X would be less than or equal to 35 milligrams. At most tells us, hey, 35 is fine. It's okay if it's 35. And then it's going to be classified as low sodium if at most, so again, X can be less than or equal to 140 milligrams. I guess we'll also, again, remember how we talked about we can say them two different ways? We could say, hey, 5 is greater than X. We could say 35 is greater than or equal to X. That's a bad one. Or I could say 140 is greater than or equal to X. Again, two ways that you can write these that technically are same.